Those of you just joining, feel free to put a hello in the chat if you'd like. It is our pleasure to host our instructor for today, Phil Tenaglia. He is a psychologist and founder of Evolving Solutions. He's been a psychologist for over 30 years, working with teachers and some of our more challenging students in grades K through 12. He specializes in consultation, counseling, intervention. If any of you have seen any of Mr. Tenaglia's work before or attended either virtually or in person, you know you're in for a treat. Very well informed and lots of excellent activities that you'll be able to take with you. This is our final webinar for this academic year, and we will hope to see many of you in early fall as we put out our webinars for the next academic year. Welcome, Phil.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. And welcome everybody else. Phil Tenaglia here. I already started the chat, and I'm going to direct your attention to that right now because I put in that I live in Langhorne, PA. I was just telling Michael that I'm right down the street from Ben Franklin's house. Well, not literally, but you know, about 20-minute ride from Ben Franklin's house. So good morning to everyone else that's here today. And I guess we could pretty much get started, Stephanie. What do you think? Okay. So let me see here. Where do I want to go first? Well, first thing we're going to do is I am now, oh, you may be big. Okay, here we go. I'm very happy to be here with you today, and I'm glad that all of you has shown up because step one of doing anything meaningful is showing up, right? So thank you. And I like to reward people who arrive on time. I like to be on time. And just to kind of double check, we are here for, well, the title says Empowering Educators, Building Psychological Flexibility, and with the ACT Matrix for Social Emotional Learning and for Mental Health. Now, I chose this title because I want to give folks out on the front lines, you folks, teachers, counselors, administrators, parents, youth workers, something that would be immediately beneficial and useful. And the best way to do that is to keep things simple. And this is not just my observation. It's based on tons of behavioral science and experience of implementing programs in schools and in organizations. So I'd like to kick this off today with a question. So here's my question. Why is it important to you to show up in a way that really connects with those you serve? And especially when that hard stuff also shows up pretty much on a daily basis. Why does that matter? Would anybody care to put something in the chat that for yourself, why that matters to you? And, you know, if not, you just ponder it. I'm going to be monitoring the chat, and Stephanie will help me. So we'll be using that throughout our time together today. So, you know, why does it matter? You know, and so then the next question is going to be, well, why does simplicity? Oh, here we go. Here's somebody. I feel like an important part. Yes. Thank you, Asia. An important part to establish trust. There you go. Right. That's why it matters to you. Right. Oh, I'm going to repeat. Okay. So I'm going to repeat the question, Stephanie. Here we go. Right. The question I kick this off with is, why is it important? And I said that the best way to proceed is to keep things simple. So why is it important to show up in a way that really connects with those you serve when you show up every day, especially when the hard stuff also shows up every day? Why does that matter? And again, it's posed that as a question to get you to ponder. And Asia had said, yeah, investment in relationship. Thank you. Thank you. Right. Right. And why does simplicity then matter when the work that we do is anything but simple? You know, why is that? Well, we're going to find out. And now the next question would be, well, what might change if we could show up and we could help others show up in ways that shift our perspective on how to support each other and our students. So those are some questions to just ponder. Just let it rattle around inside of you. You show them that they are important. Exactly, Stephanie. Thank you. You're showing people when you show up and you care, you're modeling, you're showing you are important to me. That, in my opinion, excuse me, is very powerful stuff. So the bottom line is that if we want lasting change in classrooms and schools and mental health systems, we need tools that are simple and they're sustainable and they're useful. So I'm going to show you something foundational today that I consider to be foundational. Something that's not only going to teach, it's going to shift a little bit for you and how you teach and support. It's also going to show you how to take care of yourself. And it's as easy as falling off a log. Once I show you and we practice with this a bit, you'll get the hang of it. So this morning, what I want to do is give you a roadmap, a way that you and your students can use together. And with a little bit of practice, it's going to help you navigate through everyday challenges and obstacles, and so you can do what matters. Okay? Yeah, and someone says, there you go. Yeah, and that shift helps the climate. There you go. Climate and culture, there you go. It's all one ball of wax, right, folks? So let us do this. I am going to now bring up my slides. So let me put a slide up here. All right. Does everybody see the slide? This is my stealthy way of making sure my slides work. Just chat in. Okay, we got it. All right. So here's my warning to you. This is going to be a training today, folks. Right now, I had spoken with Stephanie and Michael, and I sent some materials ahead, which they're going to be in the resources in the recording. Am I right, Stephanie? Is that where they're going to find them? Stephanie says yes. So you don't need to have anything with you today, but I did said something to you that, let me see if this next slide will show you what, no, we're going to back up for a little bit. All right. So we're not quite ready for that. Well, I'll jump ahead. Here we go. Because I can. Got to find, oh, there it is. This is the first diagram that we're going to be using today. Now, you don't need to jot down all the words, but if you could, and if you have a piece of paper around or a notebook or a napkin or something like that, I would like you to just draw two cross lines, a horizontal line and a vertical line, just like I have there. And this is the ACT matrix. It was created by my colleague and my friend, Dr. Kevin Polk. And we're going to be working from using this diagram here today. So again, grab a piece of paper, grab something to write with, and just draw two cross lines, and just like that. And then you're going to be ready to go. Because we're going to use this, and then I'm going to ask you folks to be responding in the chat. So now I can go on to my next slide. We're going to be looking at, and you're going to be experiencing three processes today: psychological flexibility, psychological safety, and workability. And now remember, we're recording this, so you can always come back later on and go over this stuff and pause it and all of that good stuff. So, are you with me? Let me know in the chat if you are with me. Yes. All right. We got yeses. Yay. All right. I love yeses. Yeses tell me that I can proceed. So, now, here we go. This is my handy dandy little diagram again, and now I've written it on a whiteboard. I have these nice little handy dandy whiteboards that I've been using for years, and they work just great. So let me just give you a quick little orientation to the diagram. So at the top, we have our five senses: see, hear, touch, taste, smell. We use them all the time. You're using probably your sense of sight and hearing to take in the information that I'm sending your way. And everything we've ever learned has come in through one of these five senses, right? So the way it's going to work is the information shows up in the senses and it comes down inside of us. And then later on, that becomes our mental experience, which we know as thoughts and feelings and memories and urges and all of that kind of stuff. And then over here, this horizontal line is showing us that everything that we do in life, we're doing to either move towards some sense of satisfaction or we're doing things to seek relief from uncomfortable stuff. Going to go one way or the other, pretty much. Okay. So now that I have got your orientation to the diagram complete, my next question is going to be this. Is it okay if I show you my point of view? I start out all of my interactions with people that way. So if someone could chat in, give me a thumbs up, heads up, yes, we'll keep going. All right. Okay, cool. I never got a no yet. I've worked with some pretty persnickety people, folks, and everybody I've ever asked that question to has always said, okay. And, if you're a reluctant teen, they might grunt. They might go, ugh. Well, that's a yes in my book, right? So here we go. We're going to start here in the lower right. And the first question I'm going to ask is, who is important to you? And then I'm going to pause and I'm going to say, well, I'm going to go first. So I write down that for me, my wife is important to me. So now I'm going to say, who is important to you? So, dear people, could you please chat in who is important to you? My kids. There we go. Thanks, Dana. Kids. What else we got? Family. There you go. Family is important. Parents. Oh, yes. Parents are important. Absolutely. Wife and daughter. Yay, yay. Wife and daughter, make the board. Awesome. Friends. Yes. You got friends. Cool. God. Yes. God. There you go. Health. Yes. Yes. Now, health is kind of a what's important, but if someone says what's important, guess what? Put that down there too, right? So as people begin to respond to me, oh, thank you very much, Maya. I was going to ask, does anybody have any pets out there? But you beat me to it because pets are people in my book. So pets will make the board. And my puppy, awesome. Dogs, yes, dogs, cats, puppies, gerbils. We used to have pet rats in our house. So all of those important people we can put here in the lower right. So we're beginning the conversation that way. So once we get that going and get a little bit of that going, now I'm going to come over here to this side, to the lower left. And well, folks, life is not a constant state of ecstatic wonder, is it? As we go through life, we experience stuff. And it's stuff that we very often don't want to experience. So my question that I ask people now, students even, is what kind of yucky stuff shows up inside of you sometimes, like fear? So then I've got the example of fear, and I write fear down. So then I might then say, so for you, what kind of yucky stuff might show up inside of you sometimes? So folks, anybody notice any yucky stuff showing up inside of them? Give me a chat. Anxiety, judgment, fear. There you go. You guys, you're getting the hang of this. Anxiety, judgment. You got it. Fear, negative, anger. Yes, that's a biggie too. Negative self-talk. Oh, yeah, that little inside voice. Negative self-talk. Yes, exactly. Doubt. You got it. There you go. So here we are. We now have, I ask, people respond. We just put it on the board. There it is. There's your anxiety. There's anger. There's negative self-talk. And we just put it on the board, just like we're doing here, right? And you could be doing that yourself with your little sheet. If you want to add more things in there, feel free to do so. Now, we're going to come up here. Once we get above this horizontal line, now we're talking about the things that we see people do, actions. And the first action that we want to look at and I ask about is, well, hey, when this, and we call all of this stuff here, it's called yucky stuff. That's my clinical term. That's our clinical term for unwanted feelings, experiences, emotions. We just call it yucky stuff. We work with some people in Birmingham, England right now, Kevin and I, and the English call this stuff not wants. So sometimes you might say, well, what are the not wants that show up for you? But this is all yucky stuff. So fear shows up inside of me, let's say, and then you're going to see me do something to try to get some relief from my fear. I'm going to do something with my body to try to lessen it, distract myself from it. So the very easy thing that you might see me do is you might see me do this thing, run. You might see me run to get relief from my fear. And then I draw this little arrow to show that I'm doing this here to try to get some relief from this yucky stuff down here. So let's say for anxiety, what might someone do to try to get some relief from that uncomfortable feeling of anxiety? Could someone chat in? Well, make you see someone do. There's lots of stuff you can do to get relief from anxiety. Tons of stuff. Oh, clean horse stalls. Oh, great. I love it. Clean horse stalls. Awesome. Clean the stall. Pray. There you go. Pray. Yes. Pray to get relief. Exactly. Shop. Oh, very good. Retail therapy. Shopping. Yes. Video games. You got it. Very popular amongst my youngsters. Games, breathing. You guys, oh man, you're on fire. Everybody must have had their coffee this morning, right? Lash out. Oh yeah. Okay, thank you. Let's do the lash out for, let's say anger shows up inside of somebody. Might someone lash out to try to get relief from their anger? Absolutely, right? So anger could show up. We're going to lash out, get some relief from our anger. Awesome. So you got the hang of it, folks. What we're doing now is we're looking at the things down here that are yucky. And I'm asking the question, what do you do to get relief from that stuff? And just like you're doing here with me, people start telling me. They will lash out. They will shop. They will play games. Negative self-talk shows up inside of somebody, right? They might do something to get some relief from that. Doubt shows up from somebody, and they might do something up here to get relief from their doubt. So we're doing these things up here to get relief from down here. This is just naturally occurring stuff that we all do. So now I come over here, and now we're going to look at this other quadrant. And the way I introduce that is I say, well, you know, what might you do over here to approach that might get you some satisfaction with these important people down here? Something I might see you do. So again, I'm going to go first. So for my wife, I might do something. I might just go and text my wife to approach some satisfaction with her. So now we have, who's over there first? Oh, the kids. Something you might do to approach satisfaction with the kids. Lots of stuff there. What might we see you do? Praise. Oh, praise the kids. Yay. Praise the kids. Okay. Something else. How about family? Something you might do for your family. Could be the same thing. Invite them to dinner. Oh, dinner with the family. Quality time. My daughter and I were just sitting in a room the other day. We weren't talking. We were watching a baseball game. She says, we're spending quality time together, just watching the game. We weren't talking, just hanging out. Hanging out is great. Play, read books. You got it. Everybody loves to play. And how about for parents? Oh, movie night. Yes. Awesome. Thank you. Some great responses here. Something for your parents you might do. Anybody got one? Call my mom. That's it. Get them on the phone. Call the mom. Call the mom. Right? And likewise, we could continue and have a nice little conversation about the things that people might do to keep moving, to achieve a sense of satisfaction with those important people down here, right? And pets, you know, well, we're going to feed them, we're going to walk them. So you guys got the idea, right? So now, remember, I said I wanted to show you my point of view. So now let me show you how I make this a point of view. I'm going to go into the middle of the diagram, and I'm going to write the word notice. As in, all we've been doing is we have just been sitting here and we have been noticing. We have been noticing about Who's important to you? We've been noticing about yucky stuff that might show up sometimes. We have been noticing about things you might do to get relief from your yucky stuff. And we have been noticing things that you might do to approach satisfaction with the people that are important to you. So this is the point of view that I use when I work with people. And now we've just added this noticing to add the point of view for kind of bring that home, right? And then I might close by saying, so this is the point of view that I use. And if it's okay, I'm going to using it with you as we work or learn or practice together. And you can use this anytime that you want. So there you go, folks. I have now presented, and you have now experienced this, what we call the psychological flexibility point of view. So now I'm going to go back to my slide. And now let's see what else I can find here. Where are my slides? They kind of have disappeared. Oh, here we go. Got it. All right. So we're back to the slides. And now my next question is going to be, what did you notice as we did this activity? What did you notice? What showed up for you as we were doing this activity together? Please chat in. Let me know. Ah, we have healthy and unhealthy ways of coping, Heather says. There you go. So Heather is noticing we have healthy and unhealthy ways of coping. Great. Anybody else notice anything as you go through this activity? Participants value similar things. Yes, I get that a lot. Well, you're noticing that would be, who is that? That would be, oops. That would be, oh, I'm right. Okay. We cope in different ways. Right. And what I get a lot of times is people say, we have a lot in common. I get that a lot. People will say we have a lot in common and we all cope in different ways. Right. And some soothing feelings. Yes. Now you have noticed Wilson has noticed some soothing feelings. There you go. Similar experiences and ways of handling stress. There you go. So you notice that. And you also, Patricia, you're doing some advanced noticing because now you're noticing, well, sometimes important people, we can have yucky stuff showing up around our important people. That's the way I would look at that, right? And now, Dana, you just hit on it, which is when it's broken down this way, when you step back and you look at things from this point of view, it just is. And it's not judgmental. This is absolutely, positively, 100% a non-judgmental way of looking at things. Okay? That's what we're trying to do, folks. We're setting people up into a space where they can step back and just notice. This is me doing stuff. This is me with my important stuff. This is me with my yucky stuff. This is me doing things to get relief. And this is me doing things to approach satisfaction with the people that are important to me in my life. That's what we're setting people up to do. That's what you're setting yourself up to do here today. And then that's what, if you show it to people, that's what you're setting up for the people that you're showing it to, helping them to get into this kind of space where they can step back and take some perspective. And when you can do that, some really interesting things start to happen for people. Okay. So, let's continue. I'm going to go back into the slides, as I seem to be doing okay with that. Now, let me go a little bit further. So now I have the diagram, and what you've experienced here, folks, and someone kind of hit upon it, it's soothing, right? It's this way of kind of stepping back and looking at and letting go of all of that stuff that floats around inside of us. Kind of looking at it, getting it organized, and now you step back and you go, oh, yeah, okay, I can see this now. So what you've just experienced and what we've participated in here is the process of what psychological flexibility and ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy and training. Today, we're doing acceptance and commitment training. This training is for anybody. Anybody can do this. I've taught people young and old how to do this, and they once they practice it a bit, everybody gets to hang. So here's what we did. And the first thing that we did is we started out with the question, who's important to you, right? And right there, you're sharing what matters to you. Because at the end of the day, folks, who is important to us? These are our primary motivators in life. This is the reason why we do what we do. Whether you're young or old, you're doing it for your important people. And the other thing that happens here when we do this is that someone used that word soothing, right? And we are soothing. What we're soothing is we're soothing the amygdalas of the people that we're talking to. Now, everybody kind of knows about the amygdala, right? I'm guessing at this point we're a pretty educated group. So the amygdala is that, group of neurons in the middle of your brain. It's like your threat detector system, like the lifeguard on the beach that's scanning and looking for danger. It's always working. It's never not working because its job is to keep us alive. So when it sees something or it senses danger, it wants to get you the heck out of there. It kicks in the fight or the flee or the freeze, and we start doing stuff. So I always assume that when I meet with people, especially when I meet with people for the first time, that I'm talking to their amygdala. Because if someone comes into a new situation, would you say that your amygdala is going to be kind of kicked up a little bit? What would you say, folks? Chat in. What do you think's happening to people's amygdalas, right? When you meet someone for the first time, or you go into a difficult meeting, or you're dealing with a difficult, conference. Might your amygdala be a little bit on higher alert in these kind of situations? What would you say? I know mine is. There you go, Dana. That's right. Yes, that's it. So I know that, right? So I don't want to cause that amygdala to get fired up any more than it already is. I want to do something right away that's going to soothe the amygdala. And as you think about and talk about and share who's important to you, well, how does that feel when you're doing that? What would you say as you begin to recall your important people? How does that feel? Anybody? Comforting. That's it. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for comforting. We're looking for soothing, right? And you folks that are doing the chatting in, that's cool too, because now you're doing something even more. You're doing something with your hands, and you're kind of activating that at the same time, which is really very interesting. You start to think about this stuff. What happens at this level? Now you're soothing the amygdala, and because you start recalling your important people, you're activating another part of your brain, which is the prefrontal cortex. That's that seat of executive functioning and decision making and planning and regulating and all of that stuff. So you're getting that going at the same time. So this is a very important question that Kevin and I started using many years ago. We used to start out with what's important to you, and that worked okay. People would tell us, but sometimes people would get stumped. Oh, no, nothing's important to me. So we switched over. We discovered that when we asked who's important to you, that lands. People always respond to that question, who's important to you. And you can literally see people relax when you ask them this question, because it's a question anybody can ask, right? It works very nicely, calms them down. And it also is the beginning of what we call getting moving. It starts to set a direction for the conversation, because that's really where people are heading. So we start there. Then the next thing that we do is we're now going to come over here. Oh, it wanted to, and now we start talking about the yucky stuff, right? So we're making it okay right away. I'm making it okay to talk about yucky stuff. And part of the reason why this works is because you've already kind of calmed people down a bit. So now if there's difficult stuff there, we can put it on the board. Anxiety, boredom, stress. and we get it out in the open. It's just now, instead of it rattling around inside of you or that person, instead, what we have them doing is we have them just stepping back and taking a look at it. So now we're saying it's okay to mention yucky stuff. And we're also now giving them a tool. You're giving kids a tool to get some distance from it. And we're going to go on and do more of that. Right. And now, as they do that, they're learning how to let go of this stuff, because you can't get rid of yucky stuff. It's just stuff that shows up. No one wants anger. No one wants stress. No one wants boredom. It shows up all on its own. You don't want it there. So, okay, we can just put it up on the board and we can continue to have our conversation. And in ACT, we talk about this as this is the beginning of people learning how to accept that they have yucky stuff as opposed to struggling with it. So we're starting to loosen that struggle as we have this conversation. So then we go up here, up top, and we ask, well, now what do you do to get relief from the yucky stuff? Well, this is more letting go, because now we're non-judgmentally, as someone said here earlier, we are just looking at things without getting into right or wrong or good and bad. It's just stuff that people do, right? You do it, right? Sometimes, when you're feeling stressed, you might go have a donut. Now, okay, we can say that's maybe healthy or unhealthy, but in the moment, you're just having the donut to get relief. It's really all you're trying to do. So when we help people to look at things this way, it starts to open up some things for them. And because we don't want them judging themselves, we want them noticing and looking and stepping back and looking at kind of the big picture. So then finally, I come over to the other side and we say, well, what might you do to get satisfaction with who's important to you? Now we're moving back into this getting moving part, right? We want people to be thinking about what they might do to approach satisfaction. Simple actions that anyone can do. And when you do them, you're approaching satisfaction, hopefully, right? Then we add the noticing, right? Which is what I did with you already. And the noticing is really about showing up in the present moment. It's like right now, this is what's happening right now. And now we're learning how we're getting into this place where people can be able to have experiences without being ruled by them. It's this kind of nonverbal learning. You don't have to analyze it. You don't have to do problem solving on it. You just step back and you look. And this is more like riding a bike. So the way you learn how to ride a bike is not by reading a bike riding manual, not by hopping on YouTube and watching someone else ride a bike. The only way to learn how to ride a bike is what? You got to get on and you got to try it out. And when you try it out, you're going to experience whatever you experience. It's not going to be easy, but over time, you'll learn from your experience what you can do. So I could also add one more thing to this after I've shown them the diagram and to kind of bring it forward a little bit. And I say this. Do you think that you might have an opportunity now in the next week or so to notice who's important to you? Might you have an opportunity to do that? So could someone chat in? What do you think? Might you have an opportunity to notice who's important to you? What would you say? There you go. That's it. Thank you, Dina. Might you have an opportunity to notice yucky stuff showing up inside of you during the week? Oh, yeah, absolutely. There you go. Yeah. So what about yucky stuff? Oh, I see thumbs popping up all over the place. Very good. Yes, for sure. Everybody notices yucky stuff, right? Might you have an opportunity to notice yourself doing relief moves from your yucky stuff? What do you think? Oh, yeah. And now, might you have an opportunity to get satisfaction with who is important to you? Right? And Pam, you said it, being open-minded to all of this. We're opening up our minds. We're opening up experiencing so that we can just have it and not let it kind of dictate what we're doing all the time. So what we've done then at the end of this is we've gone through a process. This whole thing here is a process. It starts with step 1, get moving. Step 2, question 2 is now letting go. Step 3, more letting go. Finally, we are now coming back to getting moving. And then when we come to the middle, The noticing is the showing up, being mindful, as Pam says, in the present moment. And that's all you're trying to accomplish here. And in accomplishing that, there's a lot of mileage that occurs as a result of setting this up like this. And let's not forget that the other thing that we're doing is that amygdala is still hanging around, folks. There it is. I put it right in the middle of the diagram because the amygdala shows up before you're even aware of it. Like if you're in danger, you start moving, and then your mind goes, maybe we ought to get out of here. The mind is late to the party, folks. It's your body, it's your brain that sees it and responds to it. So the thing about it is even if we're not using the matrix, that scary stuff up there at the top of the diagram is always going to be flowing into us everywhere we go. Where there's a potential for us to scary stuff in the way of words, in the way of actions, in the way of difficult situations. I'm lumping that all in kind of as scary stuff. And if your amygdala kind of always sees this stuff as scary, well, it's going to go into fight, flight, or freeze mode automatically. So we're trying to slow that process down, get that amygdala calmed down so we can help people move on and help kids move on and get more to where they want to go. And here's another thing, another question I'm going to ask. What happens when you just go ahead and tell people what to do? What has been your experience in life when you just go ahead and tell people what they should be doing? Two things have happened in my life. I'll share first. They get defensive, the resistance. They are upset. You got it. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, you're exactly, Dano. And you just got to chuckle at this stuff because we all do it. I've done it, right? As soon as you start telling people what to do, they do not want to do it. I don't care who it is. I don't want to do it. If somebody tells me to do something, I don't want to do it. At least I get that resistance, right? Even if it's something I know I should be doing, there's that immediate kind of they shut down. Thank you, right? So we won't want to shut people down. So we approach it this way, and they don't get shut down, right? Oh, the other thing that happens is they might actually go ahead and do it, and then if they go ahead and do it, they come back and they say, "Well, Phil, I did what you tell me to do, and it didn't work." Well, of course it didn't work because I'm not you. I'm not out there in your world doing what you do. So what we're doing here is we're shifting to a more psychologically flexible point of view when you're using the diagram. And you very quickly will engage people in working with you and not against you. It's going to groom cooperation and it's going to feel good as it's happening when you use it. And they're going to be more willing to use it since you're not telling them what to do. And we do that very simply by first thing, we invite them, right? Is it okay if I show you my point of view? It's okay. Okay. So once we start showing them a point of view, we have connection going. They start to connect with us. They start to connect with themselves and what's going on with themselves. And then we get collaboration. It just shows up. It's a very natural process because what we're doing here, folks, is we're shifting from our usual command and control way of doing things. And let's face it, we live in a command and control world. That's okay. That's part of the deal. We have to live in it and work with it. But here we're doing more of shifting to influence. And what we have to influence people with are our words and our actions. So what we've discovered over thousands of hours, and I mean thousands of hours of showing this to students and training people and setting up this process, that it works very nicely to get a collaborative relationship going and collaborative conversations going for whatever you want to do. And it works in any situation that you would want to try to do it in. Okay. You with me? Everybody, chat in. Let me make sure it's still there. Rolling along. Useful stuff so far. Asia's still here. Wilson's still here. Awesome. Still here. All right. All right. Well, then let's keep going. And now we are connecting them. Just signed in and wish I, okay, well, you know what, Angela, you're going to get a chance to go back and watch the recording. It's all there. Have fun. So what we're doing here is we are connecting up the social world of actions, what people do, with the emotional world of your mind. And we're using the diagram and we're using a few respectful questions to do that. Right. So now you and your students, well, first yourself, because now you've done it. And now if you go and show it to your students, and I invite you to do that, or anybody else for that matter, because the next thing you want to do with this stuff is you want to go and show it to someone. So you take what we're doing today and say, hey, I learned something new, and you show them the diagram. So anyone can do it, and there's no way to do it wrong. You just can't mess this thing up. And what you've done then at the end is you set people up for feeling more satisfaction. You're feeling good about themselves. And now you just go about your day. You don't have to use it anymore. You've had the conversation. You kind of flexed people up a bit. Just go, whatever it is you're doing next, just go ahead and do it. If you're teaching, you're going to go into a lesson, whatever the meeting is, you can go into that, and you don't have to bother with it. Now, I do suggest, though, that you keep a copy of it up somewhere, like visually, so that people can refer to it. Just keep a blank copy up so that, if you need to, someone wants to, they can refer back to it. And that's probably the best way to use it. Now, I will use it all the time for all kinds of things. So I'm going to go on and show you about other ways we can keep doing this. So let's see. See if I can get the next one. All right. So if you haven't already guessed, it's the noticing. That's really the bottom line for this. Promoting noticing works very well and helps your students get backed up and feel less stuck. It helps you feel less stuck. And some people refer to this as mindfulness. You guys probably all know about mindfulness, right? I see heads nodding. Yeah, we all know about it. Now, the problem that I had with that was when I first started doing this is I worked with a pretty tough crowd. So I even mentioned the word mindfulness. They all went, they wanted nothing to do with mindfulness, right? So a lot of people don't, and that's okay. I respect that. Everybody's different. So we use the word noticing, which is the same thing. Noticing is present moment awareness. Everybody notices. No one has a problem with it. I never get pushback on people, asking if they might have an opportunity to notice. So it works very nicely to get people into this space. And you can add noticing to like whatever you're doing. You don't even have to have the matrix around. Whatever you're doing or thinking or feeling. And when you do, you really kind of empower yourself. And you're better able to kind of move forward. So, for example, someone like I might have a student come into me and I might say, hey, good morning. And they say, hey, you know what? I don't want to be here. So now I'm going to use noticing. Here's what I do. I'm going to say, cool. So you're noticing that you're having the thought that you don't want to be here today. Great. Boom. Now, what did I just do, folks? I just added noticing. I didn't try to change their mind. I didn't try to shift them into something else. I just said, cool. You're noticing. Now, I'm giving them credit for noticing. Because when I say that, they're going to say, well, yeah, I am noticing that. There you go. Right? So we have Heather signed in here too. Okay. So Heather, thank you. And I'll read that later on. Appreciate that. Someone's already weighed in about this. And this noticing stuff really is a powerful tool in and of itself. When you combine it with the matrix, you really start cooking with stuff. So instead of saying, instead of rattling around with anxiety, you can say, I'm noticing I'm having the feeling of anxiety. And when you do that kind of stuff, what you're doing, I'm going to go to the next slide, is you're increasing psychological flexibility. Now, I've hinted at it. You've already experienced it. In a minute, I'm going to show you what it is. But it's queuing up what we call our observer self, the me who notices, right? I'm here noticing my stuff there. That's the place we want to help people to get into. Because once they do that, now they can take perspective on themselves. It's a perspective taking way of going about doing business. And when we do the noticing, you're automatically queuing up because that's the part of you that does the noticing, your observer self. So when I say, I'm noticing I'm having the feeling of anxiety, well, am I my anxiety Or am I the person who's noticing that I'm having anxiety as I say that? How does that, which way does it feel to you? I'm feeling anxious versus I'm noticing I'm having the feeling of anxiety, right? Yeah. Yeah. You're right. It feels better. Exactly, Dana. It feels better because you're not just simply your anxiety. You are much bigger than your anxiety. You are, well, you're the whole diagram that we just did. You're all of that, right? So people go, oh, yeah, cool. It frees people up. Got it? And then it leads to what I like to call aha moments. People start saying things like, oh, I could, blah, blah, blah. I might, blah, blah, blah. Because now they're freed up to kind of let that creativity show up inside of them and go off and try something. And all you're doing is you're just helping them get into a space where they can do that. Okay. So people that pretty good, you're liking this stuff. There you go. Right. So, and you're noticing the difference between how this feels versus how it feels to do the usual command and control stuff. It's a very different way to work. I do appreciate that. And it does take some practice. When you start to do it, you're going to notice a little bit of yucky stuff shut up inside you. That's okay. That's just you're on the bike and you're learning how to ride. That's all that's happening when you're doing something like that. So let me move on. So the target here, this is another cool thing about ACT and the matrix that kind of separates it out from the other ways of doing business because our target is psychological flexibility. And it's something that you do. It's not something that you have. So it's the ability to keep doing stuff even when you have yucky stuff showing up inside of you. That's what psychological flexibility is all about, right? So, what does it look like in real life? Well, it's being able to move toward the life that you want with whatever uncomfortable feelings or experiences you have. And when I work with students, I shorten it up to, well, it's about noticing what works to get you where you want to go. For example, let's pick Monday morning, my favorite morning of the week, Monday morning, right? So the alarm clock goes off, you wake up, and the first thought that shows up in your head is not, I can't wait to go to school, right? That was not my first thought. It was more like, what? Ugh, I'm tired. I'm cold. I don't want to go to school, right? All that stuff. That's what shows up. And then what do? We take one foot, we put it on the ground. We take the other foot, we put that one on the ground, and we get going. Why? Because we're going toward the stuff that matters to us. We're psychologically flexible. We know that stuff is showing up inside of us, and we're still able to manage to go about doing the things that we want to do. So it's about moving toward the life that you want with discomfort. You can't leave it behind. There's no delete button. You can't get rid of this stuff. It's going to show up. And the research tells us that psychological flexibility is really the key to mental health. And in my opinion, it's really one of the most important skills that we can teach any student. And unfortunately, we don't have that really going in schools the way that I think that we can. But we can change some things. And the way I change it is one conversation at a time, one training at a time. And you could choose to do the same thing if you want, right? Because then the other thing is that the opposite of this is what we would call psychological inflexibility. And what psychological inflexibility is where you don't feel like you have a lot of choices. You say things like, I can't. Or you say things to somebody else, I can't. Right? And then when you do that, well, what happens to your behaviors? Do they expand or do they become more restricted? What would you say? When you're walking around saying, I can't or I don't want to, what's happening on the outside? What would people say? I know for myself, that's going to really put a crunch in my problem solving, right? Energy drain. There you go. You got it. Stuff like that. It can be limiting. Exactly. Restrictive thinking. You're right. There you go. Right. And there's a time and a place for restrictive thinking. But, when you got stuff you want to do and stuff that's important to you, and the I can'ts and the I won'ts and I don't want to are showing up, well, that can really bog you down. So here's the cool thing. This makes your job a whole lot easier because psychological flexibility and targeting it is not about fixing people or problems. Because from my perspective, people aren't broken. They're just stuck, right? They're stuck in inflexible patterns of thinking, like we get stuck in the language in our head, like stuck on the thought, I can't. And then we get stuck in acting, which we start doing more escaping and avoiding stuff. And well, does that increase or decrease your difficulty and stress when you start walking down that road? What would you say? Does it get better or worse, the stress? I can tell you from my experience that it gets worse, right? Yeah, worse. There you go. Right. So what we go about doing an act, the cool thing about act is we're not going to mess with yucky stuff. We can notice it. You just let it be there. There it is. It's fine. You got it. Great. And then we go about adding flexibility. And the easiest way to add flexibility is through noticing. Noticing, again, increases awareness, and then it leads to being able to come up with different responses for the situations that you find yourself in. So one of the things that we did years ago that we liked very much is we started using this backpack metaphor with our students. And because everybody's got one, right? It's a very common thing. We all have a backpack. So we talk about being able to take that yucky stuff and like put it in your backpack and take it with you on your journey, wherever it is that you're going to go, right? And the benefits here are, you're going to help you're going to help your student, here. And then over time, they start doing more things for satisfaction. That's what normally typically happens is they start noticing that they're doing more things for satisfaction, and they'll start telling you they do more things for satisfaction. It's a pretty cool thing. So like my kids, one of my population I worked with for a long time, they had attendance problems. Anybody out there worked with kids with attendance problems? Mm-hmm. Yep. They're my favorite people to work with, right? Because they're stuck. So that's cool. That's great. I know that they're working really hard at being stuck. So if I can get that energy moving in a different direction, well, that's pretty cool. So what we did in my program is I showed them this diagram from day one. First thing they saw when they came into our school was they saw somebody using the matrix and doing it. And then I got my teachers involved. They were doing it in classrooms. And so everybody was doing it. So what starts to happen is these non-attendees, well, they start showing up for school more often. I don't mean they show up 100% of the time because you're not going to get 100%, right? I mean, if you got 100%, boy, you should do a webinar. If you can get 100% of non-attendees to show up, you need to get a hold of Stephanie and get on this webinar series, right? Because I'm going to attend too. No, you're going to get successive approximations, but they started showing up. They were still tired. They still didn't want to be there, but they were showing up. And then when they were showing up, they're going to class. And then when they're going to class, they're noticing that they're paying attention. And then they notice things like their grades are going up. And now they start participating. And it generates this momentum, folks. And all we're really doing is helping them to just kind of point them in a direction. Where do you want to go? And let's look at what's working and what's not working. And then the other cool thing about this is that, remember, the benefit for you as the person who's on the front lines is that every time you use this with someone, you are increasing your own psychological flexibility. It has a bi-directional effect. When you're asking somebody who's important to you, you start thinking about who's important to you. When you start asking somebody about yucky stuff, you can notice your yucky stuff. You can notice your relief moves. You can also notice your satisfaction moves. You become more psychologically flexible as you go ahead and do it. So you just keep adding that in. And it works very nicely, especially on those tough days when it's all coming at you and you don't have enough fingers for the holes in the dike, as I used to say, right? That's when having some psychological flexibility and knowing how to get it generated in yourself really comes in handy. Okay, so we're doing good on time, moving right along. How about now? What I want to do is I'm going to show you a slide. So remember, I use my little whiteboard. Well, here's a whiteboard of a third grade student. Now, this student had been using the matrix. His teacher introduced it. And he was in a classroom with students that had, well, significant behavior and learning problems. So he was there for good reason. And what they did every day was each student had their own whiteboard and they did their own matrix. They sat down and they wrote down who's important to them, wrote down their yucky stuff, wrote down the things that they do to get relief, wrote down the things they do to get satisfaction. So this student, this is about maybe 3 months in of them doing this as a daily practice. And what starts to happen is, well, the first thing in the lower right, this student, and we were tracking because we were kind of taking pictures every once in a while about these matrices. The list of the things that were important to him and the people began to grow. They enlarged. So that's your motivator. That's intrinsic motivation, the motivation that comes from within the person, within the student. The student is listing the things that are important to him or her. Then this student also listed the yucky stuff. And his yucky stuff did not change all that much. It was pretty much the same, and that's okay, but he's noticing it. Then on the upper left, he was noticing the things that he was doing to get relief. And you might not be able to see it too well on the slide, but I want to point out to you that one of the things that he acknowledged to himself was that he does bullying to get relief from his uncomfortable stuff. Now, I don't know about you folks, but that's some pretty high level perspective taking and, honesty on the part of the student to be able to step back and look at, yeah, I'm doing the bullying to get relief from the stuff that's bugging me. And then also he kept coming up with things he could do to keep moving toward who and what's important to him. So I like to share this diagram because this student, this is his own kind of self-created, self-directed matrix diagram. And we have self-awareness going on here. We have self-management going on. As a matter of fact, one of the things he shared with us at the end of the year, he said, yeah, this helped me when I felt like freaking out. Instead of freaking out, I would go and grab my matrix and I would do a matrix. So now in the presence of his yucky stuff, instead of lashing out, as someone said, as a relief move, he was not all the time, but he got better at taking the diagram and using it to kind of become more psychologically flexible. So this is kind of a little bit of the power of this stuff when you use it and you practice it. If you use it and you practice it and you model it like we talked about, the kids pick up on this stuff because they see you doing it. That's the best way to get people doing it, is to model it yourself. So, okay, we got through that. Now, moving right along, let me show you, we're going to move into workability. How are we doing so far, everybody? Okay? Any questions, comments, reactions so far? I'm giving you the matrix tour de force here. All right, everybody says doing good. All right, great, cool, awesome. Yes, yeah, for journaling. There you go, Michelle. People do that. Awesome. That's great. See, you guys are already probably deriving up. When you use it, you start thinking about, what might I use this for? How could I use it? Right? There you go. This is it. So now let's talk a little bit about modeling workability. How often? Oh, you go, Laura, you go back as often as you want. I use it every day. I used to use it every day. You don't always have to go through that, 4-question thing. Once you showed it to people, they pretty much know what it is. They know where important stuff goes. They know where yucky stuff goes. They know where relief goes. And they really sometimes just look at it. They can just look at it and go, oh, okay, this is where I'm at. And then just go on about your business. So there's no way you can use it too much, and you don't have to use it all the time. You're going to do what works best for you and also what works best for students, right? Because you don't want to get into, okay, now you got to do a matrix, because that would be what? More command and control, right? No, we want to do more influence, right? So we're going to help set up the noticing, and then the students will be picking it up over time. This is an overtime kind of thing. So you've experienced the matrix, check. You have shown it to your students, check. Now they got to do some noticing, all right, check, and some perspective taking with the noticing, like the young man I just showed you. And the older students will quickly learn how to do this all by themselves. They'll start drawing their own matrix. Right? They'll start using it because it's useful. And so now ACT is also different because we begin with the end in mind. And by the end in mind, I mean, where do you want to go? Where are you heading? Where do you want to head in your life? Right? So it's a question you may ask yourself from time to time. You know, you look around and you go, hey, what's this all about? What am I doing this for? And the big question is going to be, well, what's my life purpose? Now, as adults, we can ask ourselves that question, right? Now, you don't answer it. You just go, what might my life purpose is? Am I doing things for my life purpose? Like at the end of the road, how do you want to be remembered? That's a big question. But we don't need to go there today. But asking that question leads to the question, well, hey, is the stuff I'm doing, is it working to get me where I want to go? And that's what we're setting up for when we use the diagram and the language with the students, because we're always trying to get somewhere. For the kids, it may be, well, you know, I'm tired. How do I get to lunch? Or how do I pass this class? Or how do I get that person's Instagram tag or Snapchat or connect with them on TikTok? Or how can I avoid this person who's bugging me? These are value directions for students. So when you're with your students and you've done some matrix work, you can introduce now this workability question. And the question is going to be, is what you're doing working to get you where you want to go? Now, do not answer this question. This is not meant as a verbal response question. Asking the question is helping them to get back into the present moment, and it's helping them to notice, especially if you're using the diagram. They can be looking at the diagram and they be saying, you know, is what I'm doing working to get me where I want to go? So now they're mindfully, non-judgmentally stepping back, right? And being able to look at it. I just glanced over. I see Susan asked a great question. What grade level was too young to have them write in the matrix? Well, I have been able to successfully have students at the kindergarten and first grade level use this. Now, I'm going to use the word writing in a different form because sometimes, like what we found in kindergarten a lot of times, is the kids could draw a picture. So, for example, hey, draw me a picture of who is important to you. Hey, can you draw me a picture of yucky stuff? Or can you show me what yucky stuff is? Or can you do a relief move? Or can you do a satisfaction move? We're doing the matrix, right? You have the diagram, you have them doing that. And that's exactly what we did with the students at the kindergarten and into the first grade level. But by first grade and second grade, they can get a handle on this. And, you know, it's not going to be at the same developmental levels of someone who's older, but you're helping them to organize their experience, and you can use the noticing with them, and they will pick up on the noticing, and then you'll hear them kind of share it back with you. So that's my quick answer. But back to the workability question, we're not asking this question so that they'll answer it verbally. We're asking the question so they can learn, for they can do some noticing. So this is what I call the workability model then in action. So there you've got your student, and you've got the who's important to them and the what's important to them and the yucky stuff and the relief moves and the satisfaction moves. Even if they don't write it down, it's showing up on the inside, and they've got it. Now it's kind of organized out. So now you've got some curiosity going. So now when we can ask that question, you know, is it working? They can now notice their actions, and they can notice what I call the consequences of your actions, not what you think is going to happen, or not what you want to have happen, but what is actually happening when you do that thing that you do. This is the very different way of kind of paying attention to what's going on. So we're bringing them into that present moment so they can really see what's going on. So, for example, um, a student could be putting their head down, right, to avoid work. And they can also then be noticing that, well, is the work going away? Well, probably not, right? In the moment, they're avoiding the working, but the working is still there, and there's going to be more work coming, right? So this is like being able to kind of bring that into this is what I'm doing working kind of mode where they can see what they're doing. And now once they kind of come more into contact with that, now, they got more of a possibility of trying out something different. Because what we want is we want our students to have the full range of satisfaction moves, and we want them to have the full range of relief moves, and we want them to then be applying the is it working stuff on either satisfaction or relief moves. Sometimes taking a break is just the thing to do. Sometimes when you're sick, staying home from school is just the thing to do. It's workable, right? As opposed to, going in and giving somebody some nasty bug or something like that. So all of these things can be workable. Stuff on the relief side can be just as workable as stuff on the satisfaction side. We don't discriminate. We ask the question, is it working? So we want them to have a full range of experiences, right? That's what we're looking to do. And then they go out and apply it in their social world of actions. And then they kind of notice on the inside what's showing up, what's happening. So there's a little bit about workability. And now what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about something that we do as we keep going using this. Something that we do. Let me see if I can bring that up. There we go. All right. Up. So before we move off, so here's the way it looks in real time. So at the top of that slide, you'll see a picture of an adult with some children. So that could be a class. It could be a group. It could be any group, as a matter of fact. So they're all there together, and they're noticing in their five senses experiencing. They're all there. At the same time, that teacher is having some mental experience going on, right? There's stuff showing up on the inside of the teacher, thoughts, feelings, and memories. And at the same time, each student is having their own thoughts and feelings and memories. So there's a lot going on here, right? So we can use that matrix to kind of as a shared language and a shared point of view that we can use together and then go on and choose actions that work. And then what starts to happen is if you choose an action and it works, well, you want to do more of that. And then if you notice that the things that you're not doing aren't working so hot, well, it's easier then to let go of that. And that's how it might look. I use the classroom here as an example, but you can apply it pretty much to any situation that you're in. Okay. So how we doing? We're good? Chat in, let me know so far. All right, we're good. Excellent. Okay. All right, so here we go. So now we're going to show you how to add sorting. And this is a way of using the matrix as what I call a unifying intervention. So once you have experienced the matrix point of view, you could take advantage of something that everyone does. And what everyone does is we all love to sort. So if I were to hand you a deck of cards, and I were to say to you, here, take this deck of cards and divide them up into red cards and black cards. Well, you could take it and do it right away. You're just going to go ahead and do it. I could say divide them up into hearts, clubs, spades, and diamonds. Boom. You're going to do that right away. If I hand somebody, even a young person, the dinnerware, and I say, okay, here, put the dinnerware away. Well, going to go to the dinnerware drawer, and the spoons go in the spoon slot, forks go in the fork spot. Everything's got, it's got a place to go. So we all love to sort. And we also sort stuff on the inside of us too. So here's what we do. We take advantage, and again, the theme here is keeping it simple. We could take advantage of this sorting stuff, and we can use sorting to help them sort experiences into the diagram. Because, as it turns out, all of human experience can be sorted into the diagram because we've got important stuff, we've got yucky stuff, we've got relief moves, we've got satisfaction moves. And you can take any experience and you can invite someone to sort it into the diagram. So, and this works great, particularly when someone is feeling stuck, right? So what I want to do is I want to show you how I would invite someone to sort into the diagram. So I'm going to stop my share for right now. And now I'm back. And now you can see me and I have my matrix diagram. So people are going to come at you and they're going to tell you a story. They always do. I have a story, you have a story. And our favorite story is the story of I am. You know, I started out somewhere in life. I could ask you, hey, where were you born? And boom, you're going to start the story right there. Right? So the story is how we carry meaning and all that kind of stuff. Now, some stories are more what I would call workable than others. So a more flexible story is, well, you know, I have important people, stuff showed up inside of me. I did some relief stuff, and I also did some satisfaction stuff. And this seems to be working for me. So that's more of the flexible story. The stuck story is more, well, I started doing this and this stuff showed up and now I feel stuck. So this is where using this diagram comes in really handy. So let's say at this point, and we'll use the chat, someone might say something to me, someone comes into me, and now maybe I've shown them the diagram and now it's maybe second or third time around we've seen each other. And I might say something to them, hey, so what have you been up to? Or maybe I might even say, what have you been noticing? I might even ask them that. So if I say to somebody what they've been up to, what might they say to me? Somebody just chat in something that you could see someone do. All right. Okay. Let's go with the first one. Okay, we got reading books, sleeping a lot during sessions. Oh, yeah. Getting ready for graduation. All right. Okay. Let's do, well, we're reading. All right. We got a bunch here. So let's pick one of these things. Let's do working out since Kendra came up with that one the first. So, Kendra, here we go. And you're all putting stuff, yelling at up. There you go. It can be any of these things, right? It's going to work the same. So we got working out. All right. So Kendra, cool. So you said that you were doing some working out. So let me ask you something. Where would you put working out up here on this diagram? And again, you know, you got important stuff over here, yucky stuff over here, relief moves over here, satisfaction moves over here. Where might you put it? And Kendra or anybody else can respond to that. Where would you put it? Where might it go for you on the diagram? Oh, got it. Relief. Oh, okay. So, all right. So for some people say relief. So relief in, is that upper, like an action, or is it a yucky thing? Where would you put that relief, Tracy? And again, either way is fine. Upper. All right. So someone puts workout up here. Workout. All right. Someone else. Someone did a twofer. I see Asia did a twofer. She put relief right in the middle. Right. So workout can be a relief move sometimes. It could be. And it could also be a satisfaction move. Somebody else put workout over here as a satisfaction move, right? There you go. And then to go into a little bit further, I might say, well, what showed up inside of you as you were working out? What did you notice showing up inside of you? And just make something up. Feeling good. All right. And Tracy, where would you put feeling good up here on the diagram? Mood improvement. Where would that go up here for you? Satisfaction. Okay. Feeling good. Mood improvement. There you go. All right. So now we're sorting out the experience. And this is more of a flexible story because someone's doing it and they're feeling good and they're feeling satisfied. So we might not even have to do any kind of sorting with this. This is just somebody having Kendra is noticing some yucky stuff showing up. There you go. So, and I just did something that I probably wouldn't do in the moment. I would say, oh, so you noticed exhaustion and defeat, but mood improvement after. So where would you put exhaustion and defeat up here on the diagram, Kendra? And they go upper left, lower left. We could just shorten it up too. Mine, upper left or lower left, mine or lower right. Exhaustion. Were you going for exhaustion? Might have been. Yucky. Okay. So exhaustion showing up. And then you noticed, cool. So you noticed later on mood improvement. Where would you put mood improvement, Kendra? Up here. Yeah, right upper. Okay, mood improvement. There you go. So what I'm doing with you is I'm not doing anything other than inviting you to sort with me. And then we're putting it up on the diagram. And what this does, folks, is this increases psychological flexibility because now you can step back and take a look at things. So someone said something about yelling at a peer. So let's take that one. We'll take one more. And then I want to show you one more piece of this as we wind down. Okay. So someone said yelling at a peer. So where might you put yelling at a peer up here on the diagram? Where would it go? And we could just put upper left, upper right, lower right. We can shorten it up to that. You see somebody, they're yelling at a peer, and that person says, yucky, lower left. Oh, all right, upper left. Okay, cool. So we got it both places, right? So we got yelling at a peer, upper left. And we got it down here. Okay. So if someone put it in the upper left, I might say, so what was showing up inside of you right before you started yelling at the peer? What did you notice showing up inside of you right before you started yelling at the peer? And now they're going to tell me. Anger. Oh, cool. So you noticed anger showing up inside of you right before you did the yelling, right? So where would you put the anger on here? Was it something you wanted to have or didn't want to have? Lower left. Yeah. Okay. So lower left. So you noticed that you had the anger showing up. And then you went ahead and did this yelling at the peer stuff, right? So what did you notice when you did the yelling at the peer to get rid of your anger, to get relief from your anger? What did you notice? And we're just making stuff up now. Maybe more. Yeah. Oh, there you go. You know, more. So watch how I do that, folks. Oh, so the anger didn't go away. And now I draw an arrow right back down here and you notice more anger showing up. Oh, okay. Right? Yeah. Yeah. And then when more anger showed up inside of you, what did you notice yourself doing next? Could be anything. Crying. So now you're crying to get relief from your anger, right? And then, okay, so then what's, so then eventually, I'm going to shorten this up. So then you might notice that then you started to feel a little stuck. Did you start to feel a little stuck? Resentment. Yeah. So more yucky stuff showed up. There you go. Right. Yep. Yep. So you started to feel a little more stuck then, huh? Now I'm going to say, that's okay. It's okay to feel stuck. We're just sitting here and we're noticing how all this stuff was happening for you. So then you can now notice, is this working to get you where you want to go? And now, they don't, They just notice it, right? And by the way, where did you want to go? Where were you going before all this anger and yelling showed up? What were you trying to do? What was going on? I had the anger, showed up. I started doing the yelling, but right before that anger, yeah, I needed some help. I'm looking for connection. Okay, where would you put connection? Trying to get unstuck. Yeah, you were trying something, right? So what I'm doing, folks, is I'm continuing to invite them to sort. And now as they look at the diagram, we're looking at the bigger picture of what's happening here. That this person isn't trying to get themselves into hot water. They're getting in a stuck cycle. And it happens. We all get stuck sometimes. It's okay. But if we can add some noticing, right? And what we're doing here is we're adding some noticing. Now that student that's been doing the yelling can step back and get some perspective. And now they can perhaps look at some other ways that they can go about trying to get connection and support. You know, what other ways might you use to try to get connection or support? And then they can notice the differences between how they go about it this way and what happens versus coming over here and doing some things for connection over here. How does that sound? Is this useful? Okay, good, good. Yeah, this is incredibly useful. And it makes your job a lot easier because you don't have to fix it and you don't have to solve it, right? You just help them along. Now, you might be able to offer some suggestions along the way. That's fine. But you put you in the seat of facilitating, and it puts them in the seat of learning how to, yes, that they have a tool now that they can use, and they will use it. They will absolutely use it. So I got one more thing I want to show you. I was going to say, but wait, there is more. Let me see if I can find the more. Now we're back to the slides. All right. So we're back to our slides. So just quickly, you could take any experience and sort it. And when you're doing that, you are saying yes to whatever they're saying. Yes, I hear what you're saying. And where would you put that on the diagram? So that you don't have to take on all that stuff. You can say, yes, I hear what you're saying. Where would that go for you? Now, there's no right way for it. Wherever they want to put it is fine. Like some people put, exercise can be a relief move. It could be a satisfaction move. It depends on the person. It doesn't matter where they sort it. You want them to do the sorting. It's the sorting that happens in here in their head that increases their psychological flexibility. Then they're better able to choose what they want to do next or a different response or whatever is going on. So we're saying yes to it with sorting. Pausing is now they step back, they take perspective, because when I say, where would it go? You stop and you notice. And now that observer self is kicking in. And now that psychological flexibility is kicking in. If only for a little bit. It's not like you're hanging there forever, because you only have moments, folks. That's all we really have at the time. But over time, they can learn different ways of responding so that the yucky stuff doesn't have to hitch them up as much. They're still going to get stuck sometimes. That's okay. But now they got a tool for helping themselves get unstuck. So there's more. Last thing we're going to do. I would do this as a group exercise, but I think since we're short on time, I'm going to walk you through this. Okay. All right. So there is another loop that we can do. This is known as the prosocial or the we matrix. Now, I remember the first time around, the first question that I shared is, what's our shared purpose? Right? I mean, that first question is, who's important to you? Sorry. Now we're looking at how we function with a group. So we're using this with a group of students. This is a we matrix that we're going to do as a group. And we always begin in the lower right with what's our shared purpose. So if I were to say to you today, what's our shared purpose for being here today? You might say, what? Somebody chat in something. What brought you in here today? Could be anything. Showed up. I see you. You're there. Learning, that's it. And so now I'm going to write learning down, right? Learning how to support student. Exactly. I put that down in the lower right under what's our shared purpose. And then I'm going to ask, might there be any other reason why, you're here today? And then people will tell me, right? Now, some people have said to me over the years, well, I'm here because someone told me I had to be at this meeting. Great. I'm fine with that. That's why you're here. We're going to put that down. Someone told me I had to be here. Um, when I'm doing it with kids in school, very often they'd say, well, I'm here because my mom makes me come to school. And I'm going to go, great. So you're here because your mom makes you come to school. And I'm going to write that down there too, because that's the reason why that person is sitting there with me. So before you do anything, when you're working with a group, you want to get clear. You want to get some people weighing in about the shared purpose. This is a really powerful thing to do. And we almost never do it. We almost never start out this way. We start out with kind of, here's what we're going to do. This is different. And we're going to see why. Shared purpose is super, super important. A lot of communication problems happen because we don't start with this shared purpose. One. And number two, because we're humans, we very quickly drift away from the shared purpose, right? So we want to have that shared purpose down there so we can come back to it anytime that we want, right? So we talk about the shared purpose. Great. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about, now you know what's coming because you've already seen the diagram. We're going to talk about what social yucky stuff shows up when you're in a group, right? When you're in a group, what kind of social yucky stuff shows up? Anybody? You want to put something in there? Fear of fill in the blank, right? Yeah, competition, posturing to be in charge, jealousy, anger, all the same kind of, yes, exactly. You got it. So we put that stuff down there on purpose, folks. We're getting it out of the weeds. Anger, all of that stuff could show up and it gets in the way of the shared purpose, right? When that stuff shows up, it really kind of gets in the way. Disengagement. And as the people are doing that, they're owning it. We're just owning the stuff that we do. This is just simple, normal, everyday stuff that it shows up in a group, right? So we list that stuff down, just like we did with the first loop. And now the group, if you've already shown them the first loop, they got it. They're cooking. They're going to start telling you stuff. Then we're going to go up here, and what might we see people do to get relief from the yucky stuff in a group? I'm going to give you the simplest, easiest thing to do to get relief from the yucky stuff in a group. Are you ready? Here it is. Don't go. Just don't go to that group thing. Avoid it, right? So my kids, my attendance kids, they were champion avoiders. They just didn't go, right? And that's that. Don't go. Now you could go. And then when you go, what are some things you do to get relief in a group? Well, you might not talk. I'm going, but I'm not talking. Or I'm going and I'm going to get on my phone. Or I'm going to isolate, like Kendra said. Exactly. Right. And you can see people doing that stuff. And they might even do it in this group. You could even might see people doing it. It's okay. They're doing relief moves. That's what they're doing. Then finally, we're going to come over to what might we do for our shared purpose. And now we have the conversation about what we're going to do together. How is this going to work? Who's going to do what? And I like to seed this by saying the first thing that we want to get going is communicate respectfully. And I'll put that down there, write that down, because we're not going to get much accomplished if we're not communicating respectfully, right? And everybody goes, oh, yeah, great. Yeah, but, respectful communication might show up. And again, it might not show up. But guess what, folks? If this stuff shows up, now we know something, right? We know, oh, hey, look, what's going on right now is what we're doing. Is it working for our shared purpose? If we start to veer away, right? We bring it back with the noticing, right? Hey, I'm noticing that maybe we're not on the shared purpose. Is anybody else noticing that? And that brings things back. And the cool thing about this is that anybody could do it. You could do it. Student could do it. Anybody that's in the group. So now what you're going to get is you're going to get buy-in from the group. You're going to get people buying in. Here's why. Here's my last thing. Psychological safety. We've established the conditions for psychological safety, which is the shared belief that it's okay for me to speak up in this group and that I'm respected and I'm acknowledged for my efforts and people have my back. That's a very powerful thing to be able to set up. And you can set it up by promoting the psychological flexibility and also promoting the psychological safety, because that is going to enhance learning. If you don't feel safe in a group, you're not going to learn, you're not going to participate, you're not going to want to be there. That's just a natural response. Your amygdala is telling you, not safe, right? So if we set up the safety and the flexibility, well, now the group can come together and they can learn together how to move toward what matters to the group. So there you go. I managed to squeeze it all in an hour and a half. So, folks, what do you think? Has this been useful to you? I hope so. All right, good. So now here's my challenge to you. My call to action is go and show this stuff to someone. Go and do a matrix with somebody, right? That's the best thing to do, is to pay it forward, right? And you have my contact information. So please, if you run into a problem or an issue or something like that, let me know. Shoot me an email, right? And let me know how you work out with it. You're going to have your training stuff that we're going to be putting in the resource section. The contact info is right at the beginning of the chat, and it's also in my training stuff, Susan. So you'll get it. You'll see it there. I put a manual in there too that goes through everything that I did today, so you can be a geek and read it if you want. But you don't need to. Just do the matrix. Okay, folks, thank you so much for showing up. And I appreciate people hanging in here with me and working through the two loops. And you all go on and have a good day.
Thank you, Phil. We greatly appreciate your presentation today. I know this is the third time that I've heard it, and every time I hear it, I have something that I take away both in my professional world and my personal world.
Oh, good.
So yes, thank you so much. Lots
Welcome.
of positive comments in the
Yeah.
chat.
Awesome.
So wishing everyone a really nice rest of your day. And thanks again, Phil, for providing this session. It is recorded and we will have it posted on our website within 2 weeks.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, Karen, thank you. See you, everybody. Bye-bye.